Thank you for listening to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast, available on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher. Also, please follow Matt's Movie Reviews on Facebook, YouTube, Parler, and Instagram. And of course, be sure to visit www.mattsmoviereviews.net for the latest reviews, top 10 lists, and more. Now, on to the show.
How do you know, husband, whether you will save your wife?
You make plans for things. Life happens. I want to live a bigger life.
You know, Anne, I am surprised that you wound up marrying Jacob. Whatever happened to the adventurous Anne?
This is so tempting. I just can't do it to Jacob. Oh!
That's odd. You've got new teeth coming in.
What?
Anne!
Oh, good, you're home. Get changed. I'd like to go out.
40 years I've known this woman. Every day the same. Now, I don't know who I'm coming home to.
How much of that could I get?
You want the blood?
Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I am your host, Matthew Pejkovic, and this is episode number 340. Out now in the US in theatres, on demand and digital is Jakob's Wife, a vampire tale that centres on Anne, played by Barbara Crampton, a frustrated wife of a small-town minister who, after being bitten by a vampire, is given a new sense of power and confidence while also dealing with the grisly consequences of her new existence. Featuring terrific turns by Crampton and Larry Fessenden, Jakob's Wife is a bloody good horror film that is equal parts gory and poignant. And joining me now on the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is the director of Jakob's Wife, Travis Stevens. Travis, I thank you very much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Matt.
So the history of Jakob's Wife is really interesting. Barbara Crampton is also a producer as well as the star of the film, and she had a few different writers work on the script before she presented it to you. What was it that really drew you to this story, and what did you add to the script that you felt wasn't quite there yet on the page?
Well, what drew me to the story was an opportunity to work with Barbara Crampton and to really support her, not just in the creation of this movie, but in the next step of her career. It was really exciting to me that she was stepping more fully into her role as a producer. And yeah, it was something that I was really excited about and wanted to do whatever I could to help her be successful in that. When it came to the script, it was immediately clear why this character was appealing and why it was the perfect movie for Barbara at this stage of her career, because there was such a strong correlation between what the main character, Anne Feder, goes through in terms of reclaiming her voice and what Barbara was simultaneously doing as an actor, where she was taking a more active role and sort of voicing the types of movies that she wanted to act in. So with that in mind, the process, my time on the script was really spent just trying to work with Barbara to make sure that there was a foundation of truth and authenticity from her own life in the screenplay. Really wanted to make sure that there were scenes that gave her opportunities to demonstrate a wide range of acting, sort of private moments, internalized moments, bigger sort of holy cow movie moments. There's choreography, there's special effects. I mean, it was basically looking at the script almost from an engineering standpoint and looking for every opportunity we could to sort of create space for that character and for Barbara to really soar. And then I think another, thing was, it seemed like a fun opportunity to honor the sort of classics of the vampire subgenre, and try to add some new entries, some new scenes that sort of take that idea in places we haven't seen in vampire films before, and also wanted this movie to call back to some of the films Barbara had done, horror films that Barbara had done in the 80s. And so trying to work some of that magic in there as well. So there was a lot of sort of elements at play in the process.
Interesting thing about vampire stories, especially of late, is that they often feature younger characters and their struggle with immortality. But in the case of Jacob's Wife, you have characters who are in their late 50s, and it's the concept of these characters kind of looking at life more from like the rear view. Was that something that you found especially interesting in regards to this vampire story?
Yeah, with any movie, definitely with genre films, if it's in a genre that has so many classics in it, you're looking for the thing that makes it unique. And this was something I felt we hadn't seen as much of. And it was really nice to focus on some really sort of relatable human aspects of a couple, and to really explore what happens when your life has gotten smaller than you intended, and how do you expand it. I think a lot of genre is so focused on what's happening on screen, meaning sort of just the plot or just the scares, that anytime you see something on the page that is really talking about how the events of the plot is impacting the characters, it's really exciting to read, and certainly something I like to be involved with.
As I get older, I often think about the concept of time, and as you become older, time becomes that much more precious. However, when you are immortal, you have all the time in the world, right? So the character of Anne, she has a lot of this kind of regret and frustration that's very much a part of who she is. And she has many things about her that she wishes she could be somewhere else. And here she has this opportunity to not only become someone else, become the thing that she wants to be, but she can almost master time in a certain way. That would have been such an appealing thing to deal with as well in this movie.
Yeah, like for us, the focus was not on the now everything is better for I'm immortal and now everything is better. It was more about how does this slight shift in the power dynamics between them, what happens with that? And so I think it's what was interesting to us was, yes, Anne goes through this major transformation, but so does her husband Jacob, because he has to adjust to his wife for the first time in years. First time in years, he has to pay attention to what she's going through, and what's he going to do about it. And what was kind of interesting to us was, where this movie ends, it's not clear that they've resolved all of their issues.
Yeah.
And what happens next, sort of leaving it on that, are they going to be able to continue down this path of sort of recalibrating the relationship, or is one of them going to say that's it? That was kind of interesting for a vampire movie, where normally it's about living forever and being sexy forever.
Barbara Crampton's terrific in the film, and so is Larry Fessenden as Pastor Jacob. It's really inspired casting, actually. Was he already attached to the movie by the time you got on there, or did he come on later?
So as I was reading it for the first time, Larry popped into my head. And part of that was because I knew in order for this to be the type of role that Barbara Crampton could do some different things with, there needed to be a real comfort with the person playing her husband, because on these low budget movies, there's not as much time to prep, and so often you're getting comfortable with each other as you're making the movie. And this relationship between this couple, I mean, they've been married 30 years, so it was so clear that there needed to be a real history between them already. And so when I finished it, I said, hey, I think Larry would be a wonderful choice for your husband. And Barbara and the other producer, Bob Porter, said, so do we. And Barbara said, yeah, I'd actually reached out to Larry, years ago. Let's talk to him again and see what he thinks. So there's a quality to Larry, both, I think maybe because he's also a filmmaker, where he's very, very good at reading a scene and understanding what the scene needs, like both energy-wise and also emotionally, like as the character and also just as a filmmaker. And like watching him and Barbara dance throughout the course of the movie was just wonderful, because he's so good at adjusting the energy in the scene. I feel really grateful, not just for the work that he did that's on screen that audiences are seeing, but for all of the work that he contributed behind the scenes as well, and really made the shoot so much more enjoyable for all of us.
Jacob's Wife is indeed a movie about marriage. It's also a movie in a sort of way about faith and religion. And of course, the character of Jacob is a pastor. And the film begins with a sermon. And Pastor Jacob, quotes Ephesians. And it's like this really interesting part of the Bible where it talks about husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church, and for wives to submit yourselves to your husbands. And that sermon really touches on the themes that we're going to see throughout the film about servitude and gender roles, but it also talks about sacrifice and loyalty as well. Was that part already in the script, or is that something that you brought into it later? Because I know in Girl on the Third Floor there were some parts in it that kind of dealt with faith as well. Is that something you brought to the movie?
Yeah, I think that particular passage was in the script already. I added some more in the art direction on the posters that's hanging on the wall. And, the idea, it's like faith is a wonderful thing for humans if we don't lose sight of its purpose, which is, enriching our lives and lifting us up. And, in both Girl and Jacob's Wife, I think my personal view that I'm trying to get across is this can be a positive thing in your life, but don't lose sight of what it's there for. I think with Jacob in particular, he's kind of going through the motions, and he's lost a bit of his connection to the words and to the purpose, and it's just gotten a little used to just being the man standing on top of the stage speaking to everybody. He's gotten more used to being a leader than actually leading. Like he's lost touch with what it is, and that idea of really connecting to people as individuals and nurturing the best of their potential in them and trying to lift them up. That's something that I think he needs to be doing a bit more of. And by the end of the movie, at least he's listening, which is the first step. So,
well, it's a part of the film that I just absolutely love, and I do love Jacob's Wife. And so people out there listening across the US, in theaters, on demand, and digital, Shudder is a place you can definitely find the film. And Travis Stevens, I thank you very much for your time today. I'm such a big fan of your work, from all the stuff you did with Girl on the Third Floor, and of course with Jacob's Wife. It's been a pleasure to talk to you today, and congratulations with the movie.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for starting the week off so beautifully. It was lovely chatting with you.
And you too.